What happens when Melania Trump insulted by employee at a luxury store? The revenge was ruthless. What happens when a single moment turns your world upside down? Maria Lopez, a once thriving Bergdorf Goodman employee, finds herself at rock bottom after a heated confrontation with Melania Trump goes viral. Maria Lopez pushed through the shining glass doors of Bergdorf Goodman at 7:45 a.m., just as she had done every morning for the last 8 years. Her feet already ached in the mandatory high heels, a constant reminder that even employees were expected to embody the luxury store's polished image. The crisp October air had stung her cheeks on the walkover, and she silently cursed herself for not grabbing a warmer jacket. But when you're rushing out the door, late, and scraping by paycheck to paycheck in a cramped Queens apartment, sometimes you just grab whatever is closest. "Morning, sunshine," Tom from security called out, his cheerful voice bouncing off the near-empty store's polished surfaces. "Rough night." Maria managed a weak smile. "More like a rough year, Tom. But hey, at least I made it in." "That's the spirit," he chuckled, swiping his badge to let her into the employee area. "Heads up, though. Corporate visit today. Might want to fix that lipstick before you hit the floor." "Great, just what I needed," Maria muttered, slumping onto the break room's peeling faux leather couch. Her worn-out purse slid to the floor as the wall-mounted TV droned on about celebrity gossip and global tensions. Ignoring the chatter, she focused on fixing her appearance to meet Bergdorf's impossibly high standards. "You look like you've been hit by a cab," Jenny, a newer sales associate, teased as she sat down beside Maria, sliding a coffee cup her way. "Here, you need this more than me." Maria accepted the coffee gratefully, taking a deep sip. "That obvious, huh? I covered Sandra's closing shift last night and didn't get home until midnight. Then, at 3 a.m., my neighbor decided it was the perfect time for a drum solo." Jenny winced. "Rough. But hey, at least you're stacking up overtime, right?" Maria let out a bitter laugh. "Oh sure, because that extra $100 will totally offset my rent going up another $200 last month." She pulled out her compact mirror, sighing as she tried to hide the dark circles under her eyes. "You know what's worse? Sandra bailed so she could take her kid to Disney World. Must be nice having a husband who actually makes money." Jenny leaned in, her voice dropping conspiratorially. "Speaking of money, did you hear about the special visitors today?" Rebecca in accessories said she saw a full security team doing sweeps this morning. Maria rolled her eyes. Probably just another real housewife here for her 5th Birkin bag this month. The break room door swung open, and Steve, their perpetually frazzled floor manager, marched in, clipboard in hand. "Ladies, less chatting, more prepping. We open in 15, and everyone needs to look sharp. Maria, you're in designer handbags today." Maria blinked. "Wait, what? I'm supposed to be in ready-to-wear. I've got clients coming in for the winter collection." "Plans changed," Steve replied briskly. "Natalie called in sick, and you're the only one with enough experience to handle the VIPs today." His eyes swept over her critically. "And for heaven's sake, do something with your hair. This isn't a downtown boutique." Biting her tongue, Maria nodded, watching Steve march off to micromanage someone else's morning. 8 years of loyal service, countless sales accolades, and yet here she was, still treated like she was disposable. "Don't let him get to you," Jenny said, squeezing Maria's shoulder. "He's just stressed because his wife's making him go to couples therapy." "How do you even know that?" "Please, I know everything," Jenny smirked, straightening her skirt. "It's called being nosy and having no life outside of this place." Maria shook her head, pulling her hair into a neat bun. "I'll pass on lunch today. Brought rice and beans from home." Again. Jenny sighed. "Maria, you've got to live a little." Easy for you to say, Maria shot back. You still live with your parents in Jersey. Some of us don't have that kind of safety net. Miss Lopez, my office. Now. Steve's voice trembled with barely restrained fury as security ushered her through the crowd that had gathered. Maria's legs felt like lead, each step heavier than the last, as she followed him. Behind her, she could hear the low hum of whispers, her co-workers murmuring, phones raised, capturing her humiliating walk of shame. Steve slammed the office door shut with a force that rattled the room. His face, flushed red with anger, was a shade she'd never seen before. In all my 15 years of retail management, he began, his voice rising, what were you thinking? No, scratch that. You clearly weren't thinking. Maria sank into the chair across from his desk, her anger dissolving rapidly into a sinking sense of dread. Steve, do you have any idea what you've just done? He ran his fingers through his thinning hair, his frustration spilling over. Not just to yourself, Maria. To the entire store. To all of us. His phone buzzed loudly on the desk, pulling his attention. He grabbed it, turning the screen toward her with a grim expression. Look at this. It's already on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere. Maria's stomach churned as she saw the video. The comments below it, harsh, judgmental, relentless, felt like punches to the gut. I can explain, she said weakly, her voice trembling. Explain. Steve barked, his voice laced with disbelief. Explain what, Maria? How you decided it was a good idea to publicly insult a former First Lady during a corporate visit to Bergdorf Goodman. Of course, corporate's calling. He glanced at his ringing phone and groaned. Figures. He pointed a finger at her. Don't move. Maria sat frozen as Steve answered the call. Each yes, sir, and no, sir, she overheard felt like another nail being hammered into her career's coffin. When he finally hung up, his shoulders sagged. They want the security footage, he muttered. Though, honestly, I doubt they'll need it with half the store already posting your little speech. Outside the office, the store was slowly resuming its usual hum of activity. But to Maria, the sounds were muffled, distant. Her thoughts raced. Jenny's probably already gossiping. Tom, the security guard who greeted her so warmly every morning, would never look at her the same way again. My mom's sick, Maria blurted out suddenly, her voice cracking. I just found out her insurance won't cover her treatment. I've been working doubles to help pay for her bills and— Stop. Steve raised a hand, cutting her off. I don't want to hear it. Whatever's happening in your personal life, Maria, it doesn't excuse what you did. Period. His phone buzzed again, and his expression darkened. Oh, great. It's trending now. Maria shakily pulled out her own phone. Her notifications were lighting up with a relentless flood of comments. Hate. Support. Mockery. It was overwhelming. What's going to happen to me? She whispered, almost afraid to hear the answer. Steve's expression softened, just a little. You've been a great employee, Maria. One of the best, actually. But this— He shook his head slowly. There's no coming back from it. Corporate wants you gone. Now. I have rights, she stammered, her voice barely audible. Steve sighed. New York is an at-will employment state, Maria, and you just violated at least a dozen company policies. We're offering you 2 weeks severance. That's more than generous, considering the circumstances. He slid a form across the desk. Sign here. Maria stared at the paper, her vision blurring with tears she refused to let fall. My health insurance? She asked weakly. It ends today. Cobra paperwork will be mailed to you. Steve glanced at his phone again, wincing. Fox News just picked up the story. The weight of what she had done hit her like a tidal wave. 8 years of dedication, long hours and sacrifices, all gone. And not just this job. Who would hire her now? Security will escort you to collect your belongings, Steve continued, his tone now businesslike. You'll leave through the service entrance. And Maria? He hesitated, his voice softening slightly. Don't try to come back. Don't contact your clients. Don't post anything on social media. Just go home. The walk to her locker felt endless. She avoided Jenny's searching gaze and kept her eyes fixed forward, ignoring the weight of judgment pressing down on her from every corner. Tom, the security guard who once greeted her with warmth, stood by silently, his usual friendliness replaced with cold professionalism. "Ready, Miss Lopez?" another security guard asked as she finished packing her things, 8 years of her life condensed into one small box. Maria nodded silently, clutching her belongings tightly as she followed him to the service door. The sound of it clicking shut behind her felt like a final goodbye. Her phone buzzed again. A text from her mother. "Mija, I just saw the video. Call me, please." Standing in the cold alley behind Bergdorf's, where she'd once taken lunch breaks to save money, Maria stared at the message. The service door behind her had locked with a resolute finality. She was alone now, the reality of her situation pressing down on her like a crushing weight. But she had no idea this was only the beginning, that the true consequences of her actions were still waiting to unfold. Somewhere in the city, in an elegant office, unseen plans were already being set into motion. Melania Trump was having a very different discussion about how to handle the situation. Meanwhile, standing in that dimly lit alley, holding her career in a cardboard box, Maria Lopez did the only thing she could. She broke down in tears. Her phone buzzed relentlessly on the subway ride home, each notification like a tiny hammer chipping away at her sanity. She tried switching it off, but her growing panic made her check it again and again. "Hey, isn't that her?" A teenager nudged his friend, pointing at Maria. "That's the Bergdorf lady from TikTok." Maria pulled her coat tighter, shifting to a different car. But she could still feel the stares, the whispers, the weight of her mistake following her. Her video was everywhere. Her phone rang. Jenny, calling for the 5th time. Maria finally answered. "Jenny, I can't. I just can't right now." "Maria! Oh my God, are you okay?" Jenny's voice buzzed with urgency. "The store is insane. Corporate sent like 20 people. Jenny, I can't talk. You're all over Twitter. Some are calling you a hero, but most. It's bad. Reporters are camping outside the store. Fox News, CNN, everybody." Maria hung up just as another news alert lit her screen. Bergdorf Goodman employee fired after confronting Melania Trump. Exclusive video. Her hands trembled as she opened her email. Hundreds of unread messages. She clicked one. "You communist piece of trash. How dare you disrespect our First Lady? I hope you never work again." Another email. "I know where you live. Watch your back, liberal scum." And then another. "Thank you for standing up to these rich parasites. We're starting a GoFundMe for you." Feeling nauseous, Maria closed her email. The train screeched to a halt at her station, and she bolted up the stairs to the street. For the first time, her Queens neighborhood felt unfamiliar, unsafe. Maria Lopez. A man with a camera darted toward her. "Can we get a statement about what happened at Bergdorf's today?" Maria pushed past him, fumbling with her keys as she reached her building. A group of reporters had already gathered. Was this a planned protest? One shouted. Are you part of any political organization? Another called out. Maria shoved through the door, slamming it behind her. Sliding to the floor, her box of belongings tipped over beside her. Her cat, Luna, padded over cautiously, sensing her distress. Her phone rang again. Her mother. Mija, what have you done? It's all over the Spanish channels. Your father hasn't stopped pacing since he saw it. Mama, I'm sorry. I lost control for a second. 1 second is all it takes, Mummit. Her mother's voice cracked with worry. Your cousin Teresa at the Phoenix Mall says they're already talking about it there. The mall, Mama? Maria let out a bitter laugh. I don't think I could even get hired at a car wash right now. A new notification popped up. Her best friend, Sophia, had tagged her in a Facebook post. Curious, Maria clicked it, and immediately regretted it. In light of recent events, I want to clarify that I do not support Maria Lopez's actions. While she was my friend, I believe in treating all people with respect, regardless of political differences. Mija, are you still there? Her mother asked. They're unfriending me, Mama, Maria whispered, her voice breaking. People I've known for years are deleting me. Delete it all, Mija. Delete everything. Come home to Arizona. A loud knock on her door made Maria jump. Miss Lopez? New York Post. We'd love to get your side of the story. Don't answer, her mother urged. Your Uncle Marco knows a lawyer. Let me call him. More banging. More voices. Maria's phone buzzed with another text, this time from her landlord. Need to speak with you immediately about lease violations regarding media disturbances. Mama, I have to go, Maria muttered. I'll call you later. She spent the next hour in a daze, watching her life implode through her phone. The video had gone viral. Thousands of memes. Reaction videos. Conservative outlets were plastering her photo everywhere with headlines like, Woke Retail Worker Attacks Former First Lady. Her Instagram followers skyrocketed, but the comments were a cesspool of hate and threats. Someone had found her LinkedIn profile and posted fake reviews on every job she'd ever held. The buzzer rang. Checking the camera feed, Maria saw Jenny holding takeout bags. Let me in, girl. You need reinforcements. Minutes later, they sat on Maria's cramped couch, surrounded by Thai food containers. Luna prowled at their feet, hopeful for scraps. Okay, so it's bad, Jenny said, stuffing a spring roll in her mouth. But maybe not career-ending bad? Some company might hire you for the publicity, the resistance hero who stood up to. Don't. Maria interrupted, poking at her pad thai. I'm not a hero. I'm just an idiot who couldn't keep her mouth shut. Well, you're a viral idiot, Jenny said, scrolling through her phone. The Bergdorf incident is trending worldwide. She stopped, her eyes wide. Oh no. What now? Maria demanded. Jenny hesitated, then handed over her phone. Maria read the tweet. Nasty store clerk shows true face of radical left. Sad. Melania showed total class while being attacked by unhinged liberal. Hashtag shop elsewhere. Maria groaned, flopping back against the couch. Great. Now I'll never work in this city again. Another knock at the door made them both jump. Miss Lopez? TMZ. Just a few questions. They've been at it for hours, Maria groaned. I can't even check my mail. Jenny peeked through the peephole. There's like 5 of them now. Cameras and everything. Maria's phone buzzed with another text from her landlord. Meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m. to discuss termination options. Famous? No. Infamous? Absolutely. Maria opened her laptop, and her heart sank further. Someone had created a website, marialopezsoverparty.com, complete with her personal information and work history. Jenny's phone chimed again. She looked at the screen, then winced. Maria, maybe don't check Twitter right now, or Facebook, or anything. Actually, just throw your phone in the East River. Maria let out a dry laugh, though tears stung her eyes. This isn't just a moment, Jenny. It's my whole life unraveling. You can at least hide for one night, Jenny said firmly, grabbing the remote. Come on, let's watch something mindless. Maria reluctantly agreed, sinking into the couch. They tried a movie marathon, but her mind kept drifting. That moment in the store replayed over and over, the way Melania Trump's eyes locked onto hers. What had that look meant? Why didn't she respond? The not knowing was somehow worse than the chaos that followed. By midnight, Jenny headed home, making Maria promise she'd call if she needed anything. The reporters had finally dispersed, leaving the hallway hauntingly silent. Maria lay in bed, staring at her dark ceiling. Luna, her cat, curled up beside her, softly purring. On the nightstand, her silenced phone blinked with new notifications every few minutes, casting eerie shadows on the wall. She thought of her father, who always told her to hold her head high no matter what, and her mother, who scrubbed floors so Maria could go to college. What would they think now? That their daughter had thrown away everything they had worked so hard to give her? Sleep eluded her. Every time she dozed off, she jolted awake, certain she heard the clicks of cameras or reporters shouting her name. Around 3 a.m., she gave in and checked her phone one more time. A new email caught her eye. It was from her health insurance provider. This notice is to inform you that your coverage will terminate effective immediately. Maria closed her eyes as tears slipped down her temples, soaking into her hair. Tomorrow, she would have to face the world again. Face the consequences. Face whatever came next. But in the quiet of her tiny queen's apartment, with only Luna for comfort, Maria finally grasped the enormity of what she had done. It wasn't just her career or her reputation that had crumbled. It was her life. And the worst part, it wasn't the hate, or the threats, or even the loss of her job. It was knowing that somewhere, Melania Trump was probably watching all of this unfold. And Maria had a sinking feeling that this nightmare was far from over. The next morning, sunlight streamed into her room with cruel brightness. She'd barely slept, but her phone's constant buzzing made staying in bed impossible. A quick glance at her notifications confirmed it. The story had gone international. News outlets from London to Tokyo were running it. Her mother had called 12 times. Finally, Maria answered, just to stop the ringing. The local news showed your building, her mother said without preamble. There are people outside with signs. Maria rushed to the window. Sure enough, a small crowd had gathered below. Some held signs supporting her, while others carried ones condemning her. Police barriers were set up, keeping them from the entrance. Pack a bag, her mother urged. Your father can wire you money for a ticket. Just come home until this blows over. A loud knock at the door interrupted their call. Miss Lopez? Building management. We need to discuss your situation immediately. I have to go, Mama, Maria muttered, ending the call. Opening the door, she found Mr. Patel, her landlord, looking visibly agitated. This cannot continue, he said, gesturing toward the window. The other tenants are complaining. Reporters in the lobby, protesters outside. This is a residential building, not a circus. Mr. Patel, please, Maria pleaded. I just need some time to... No time, he snapped, thrusting a document at her. The lease is clear about media disruptions. You have 30 days to vacate and deal with the people outside. Before she could respond, his phone rang. Yes, I'm handling it now. No, Channel 7 cannot set up cameras in the lobby. He hurried off, leaving Maria clutching the eviction notice. Her phone buzzed with a text from Jenny. OMG, turn on CNN right now. Maria fumbled for the remote. There, on national television, was a panel debating her. Her LinkedIn photo filled the screen as pundits argued about retail worker radicalization. This incident at Bergdorf's represents a growing anger in the service industry, one commentator declared. The question is, was this an isolated outburst or a symptom of deeper societal issues? Maria turned it off. Her hands trembled as she opened her laptop to check her email. Hundreds of unread messages cluttered her inbox, but one stood out. Urgent. Statement from Bergdorf Goodman Legal Department. The email was cold and professional, warning that any attempt to profit from her employment, including media appearances, would result in legal action. Another email followed. We'd like to offer $55,000 for you to share your story on our daytime talk show. Maria sighed and deleted it. Getting sued on top of everything else wasn't an option. Her doorbell rang. Through the security camera, she saw Jenny holding coffee and a bagel. You look worse than yesterday, Jenny said as she walked in. Have you even slept? How can I sleep? Maria held up the eviction notice. Look at this. They can't do that. It's like against your rights or something. Jenny protested. Pretty sure going viral for insulting a former First Lady isn't a protected class, Maria muttered, sinking onto the couch. And I can't afford a lawyer to fight it anyway. I can barely afford groceries. Jenny's phone chimed. She glanced at the screen, then winced. Oh. Someone dug up your old Instagram posts from that Trump protest in 2020. They're saying this proves the whole thing was premeditated. What? Maria groaned. I wasn't even working at Bergdorf's then. Try telling that to Twitter, Jenny replied, scrolling through her phone. Oh, and guess what? #FireMaria is trending again. Maria buried her face in her hands. Great. More attention. Exactly what I need. Outside, the crowd had grown. News vans were now setting up equipment, and voices called up from the street. Miss Lopez, can we get a statement? Her phone rang again. This time, it was her brother. Maria, you're not going to believe this, he said. Someone posted Mom and Dad's address online. They're getting hate mail. What? How? Why would anyone do that? Maria felt the room spin. Dad had to call the police. They said it's just precautionary, but still. But maybe it's time to stay off social media for a bit? Jenny suggested, trying to sound casual. A little late for that, Maria muttered, her eyes fixed on the growing crowd outside. More protesters had gathered, their signs ranging from "Shame on Bergdorf's" to "Communist scum." After ending the call with her parents, Jenny attempted to lighten the mood. Remember when your biggest worry was Steve making you work the handbag section? Was that really just yesterday? Maria sighed, pulling up her bank account on her phone. The severance pay hadn't hit yet. God, I need a job. Any job. About that. Jenny hesitated, biting her lip. I tried asking around, at other stores. But, your name? It's kind of radioactive right now. Even Zara said no. Zara? Maria asked, her eyebrows shooting up. You asked Zara? I thought maybe fast fashion wouldn't care about luxury store drama. Jenny defended herself. But apparently, they care a lot. Before Maria could respond, Her phone buzzed with another text from her landlord. News vans are blocking tenant parking. Fix this today, or your eviction timeline moves up. I can't stay here, Maria said, more to herself than to Jenny. Even if they weren't evicting me, I can't live like this. I can't keep putting everyone through this chaos. So, what are you going to do? Jenny asked hesitantly. Maria didn't get a chance to answer. A rock suddenly smashed through her window, shattering glass everywhere. Luna bolted under the bed, yowling in fright, as sirens wailed outside. "Oh my God!" Jenny gasped, rushing to the broken window. "Are you okay?" Maria stood frozen, staring at the rock lying on the floor. It was wrapped in paper. With trembling hands, she unwrapped it and read the scrawled message, "Go back to your country, communist." Her phone began ringing again, probably her parents, already seeing this on the news. Outside, the protesters grew louder, their chants echoing through the street. Somewhere in the building, a neighbor pounded on their ceiling, shouting for quiet. "That's it," Maria shouted, grabbing a suitcase from her closet. "I'm done. I can't do this anymore." "Where are you going?" Jenny asked, alarmed. "My aunt has a cabin upstate. No internet." "No cell service," Maria said, throwing clothes into the suitcase. "I just need to disappear for a while." "Running away won't fix this," Jenny argued. "Neither will staying here and watching my life fall apart in HD. Maria snapped, checking her phone one last time before turning it off. Hundreds of notifications, thousands of mentions, millions of opinions about a single moment she couldn't take back. As she packed, sirens wailed, reporters called her name, and glass crunched underfoot. But all Maria could think about was that look in Melania Trump's eyes. That brief moment of connection before everything spiraled out of control. What she didn't know was that, at that very moment, in a luxurious office across town, decisions about her fate were being made. Decisions that would make everything so far feel like a mere prelude. 3 weeks later, Maria's aunt's cabin in the Catskills had provided a brief escape, but reality had a way of catching up. Even without internet, local patrons had recognized her from Fox News. She knew it was time to leave. Back in Queens, Maria sat cross-legged on her half-empty apartment floor, surrounded by moving boxes and unpaid bills. Luna perched on her cat tower, soon to be sold on Craigslist, watching her pack. Jenny called again. "Did you see the new article about you in the Post?" "I stopped reading about myself weeks ago," Maria said, taping up another box. "Nothing good ever comes from it." "Well, this one's different. They interviewed your old co-workers. Even Steve talked." Maria froze mid-tape. "What did he say?" "Hold on. Let me find it." He said, "Maria Lopez was an exemplary employee for 8 years. What happened that day was completely out of character. However, the retail industry has strict protocols. Want me to keep going?" "No," Maria said flatly, resuming her taping. "It doesn't matter. Nobody's going to hire me after reading any of these articles." Her laptop dinged. A new email. Another rejection. This time from a small boutique in Brooklyn. "While we appreciate your extensive experience, we feel your presence might create unnecessary attention." "I've been applying everywhere," Maria told Jenny. "Not just retail. Restaurants, offices, anything. But as soon as they Google my name." "What about that bookstore in the village?" Jenny asked. "The owner seemed progressive when we talked to her." "She called yesterday," Maria said bitterly. "Said her investors weren't comfortable with the controversy." Maria laughed dryly. "I even applied to be a dog walker. They said no because their clients might recognize me from television." "This is insane," Jenny said, pacing. "They can't blacklist you forever. Watch me become the first person in history to move back in with their parents because of a viral video," Maria said, shaking her head. Her phone buzzed, a student loan servicer reminding her that her deferment request had been denied. The stack of bills beside her looked more threatening by the day. Rent, pointless since she was being evicted, utilities, credit card payments, health insurance premiums. "Maybe I could get you a job at Bergdorf's," Jenny joked weakly. "Like, in the stockroom where nobody would see you." "I can't even walk past that store without someone taking a picture," Maria said. "Someone started a Twitter account just to post sightings of me around the city." A knock at the door startled them both. Maria checked the security camera on her phone. A delivery guy holding a thick envelope. "Sign here," he said, thrusting a clipboard at her. Maria's hands trembled as she opened the envelope. "Legal papers." "They're suing me," she whispered, scanning the documents. "Bergdorf's parent company. Something about damage to brand reputation and lost revenue." "Can they do that?" Jenny asked, horrified. "Apparently, they can do whatever they want," Maria said, tossing the papers onto the pile of bad news. "I should have just sold her the stupid bag." Jenny picked up the documents. "There has to be someone who can help. What about those organizations that offered to support you? You mean the ones that wanted to make me their poster child for wealth inequality?" Maria shook her head. "No thanks. I've been used enough." Her laptop dinged again. Another rejection. Maria muttered, "Maybe I should just become a hermit. Live in the woods. Grow my own food. Never talk to anyone again." Jenny raised an eyebrow. "Or you could sell your story. Look at these offers from publishers. And get sued into oblivion?" "No thanks," Maria said, stretching her stiff legs. "I need to finish packing. The new tenants move in next week." "Where are you going to go?" Jenny asked softly. Maria sighed, wrapping dishes in newspaper. "Sophia offered her couch. You know, after she publicly denounced me on Facebook." Jenny didn't argue. They packed in silence for a while, pretending not to notice how Maria's hands shook each time she boxed up something she'd bought with her Bergdorf salary. "Remember when we thought the worst thing that could happen was getting yelled at by rich ladies about return policies?" Jenny said, carefully wrapping a coffee mug. "I miss those days," Maria whispered, sitting back on her heels. "I miss my boring, normal life, where nobody knew my name or cared what I thought about anything." Her phone buzzed. Another unknown number. She didn't answer any more, not after the 5th death threat. "At least the reporters gave up," Jenny offered weakly. "Only because someone else went viral," Maria said, glancing at her dwindling bank account. "Being yesterday's news doesn't pay the bills." Her laptop lit up with a notification. Melania Trump makes first public appearance since Bergdorf's incident. "Don't click it," Jenny warned. But Maria was already clicking on the article. There she was, the former First Lady, looking flawless at a charity event, every hair perfectly in place. Not a single sign that the incident had impacted her at all. "She's fine," Maria said softly, her voice barely audible. "Her life just moved on. Meanwhile she gestured at the boxes, the unpaid bills, and the overwhelming chaos that had become her life. "You'll bounce back," Jenny said, trying to sound hopeful. "Everyone loves a comeback story." "This isn't a story, Jenny," Maria said, her voice cracking. "This is my life. And it's over. Everything I worked for, everything I built, gone. Because I couldn't keep my mouth shut for 5 minutes." Her phone rang again. It was her brother this time. "Hey, sis," he said cautiously. "Mom's driving me crazy about you coming home." Dad found out that mall job pays $16 an hour, plus commission. Maria closed her eyes. Carlos, just think about it, okay? Your room's still here. Mom's already buying new sheets. After hanging up, Maria stared at her phone's wallpaper, a photo from her first day at Bergdorf's 8 years ago. She'd looked so proud, so hopeful. You know what the worst part is, she said to Jenny. I don't even remember what I was so angry about. It's all a blur now. Just seeing her there, looking so perfect, while I was panicking over overdraft fees. It could have been anyone, but it was me. Maria picked up another bill. Her credit card was maxed out, and the minimum payment was due in 3 days. And now I have to figure out how to live with this, she muttered. Jenny's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen and winced. What now? Maria asked. Nothing, Jenny said, trying to sound casual. Just, maybe don't check LinkedIn for a while. Maria grabbed Jenny's phone and saw it, a long thread warning employers about the risks of hiring her. It had thousands of shares. Perfect, Maria said bitterly, handing the phone back. Now I can't even get a job in another state. The internet is forever, right? She walked to the window, the same one that had been shattered by a rock 3 weeks ago. It had been repaired, but the memory lingered like a stain. The street below looked normal again. No protesters, no news vans, but Maria knew she'd never walk down it without wondering who might recognize her, who might be filming, who might decide to make her go viral all over again. I have to leave New York, she said quietly. There's nothing left for me here. Maria, look, Jenny said, pulling out her laptop. She opened dozens of rejection emails. I've applied to every store, every restaurant, every office within 50 miles. Nobody will touch me. I'm toxic. Things will calm down, Jenny insisted. When? Maria asked sharply. In a year. 5 years. How am I supposed to survive until then? She picked up the legal papers from Bergdorf's. I can't fight this. I can't start over here. I can't. Her gaze swept over the half-packed apartment. The life she'd built, piece by piece, was being dismantled box by box. The designer clothes she'd bought with her employee discount now felt useless. She'd never work in fashion again. The industry magazines she used to devour now only reminded her of what she'd lost. Her phone buzzed, a new email. This time, it was from a former client. Maria, I'm so sorry, but I need to cancel our standing coffee date. My husband thinks it's best if we don't associate for a while. Even my friends are jumping ship, Maria said, showing Jenny the email. And who can blame them? Who wants to be linked to retail's most infamous failure? You're not a failure, Jenny said firmly. Really? Because from where I'm sitting, Maria gestured at the boxes. Actually, I can't even sit here much longer. Remember? I'm being evicted. Jenny started to respond, but Maria's phone rang again. Another unknown number. This time, something made her answer. Hello, Miss Lopez, said a crisp, professional voice. This is Catherine Wells from the law offices of... Maria hung up, her hands trembling. Different lawyer, same threats, probably. You need legal help, Jenny insisted. You can't handle all of this alone. I can't afford a lawyer, Maria snapped. I can barely afford ramen noodles right now. She picked up Luna and hugged her tightly. I don't even know if I can keep her. Most shelters don't allow pets. You're not going to a shelter, Jenny said fiercely. You can stay with me. In your parents' house in Jersey? The one where your mom posts anti-immigrant rants on Facebook. Maria shook her head. Thanks, but no thanks. Her laptop dinged with another email. This time, it was from a warehouse job in Staten Island. Upon further review of your application. Maria slammed the laptop shut. I get it. Nobody wants to hire the crazy lady who yelled at Melania Trump. Message received. Suddenly, she stood, startling Luna, and walked to the window. The city sprawled out before her, the same view she'd loved for years. But now, it felt suffocating. Every street felt like a trap. Every corner, a place to be recognized, judged, or filmed. I'm booking a ticket to Phoenix, she said quietly. Tonight. Maria, wait. For what? Maria snapped. More rejections? More lawyers? More people telling me how I ruined my life in HD. I'm done. New York is done with me, and I'm done with it. Her phone buzzed again. She almost ignored it, but something made her glance at the screen. It was an email from an unfamiliar address. Dear Miss Lopez, we represent Miss Melania Trump. Maria's hands trembled as she read the words. After everything, the chaos, the threats, the destruction of her life, now this. She had no idea this email would change everything. That sometimes, rock bottom isn't the end. Maria sat in her half-packed apartment, the remnants of her old life scattered around her. The email from Melania Trump's lawyers loomed on her screen. She exhaled and clicked it open. What does it say? Jenny leaned over, trying to read along. Maria's eyes darted across the text, her face growing paler with each line. It's from her lawyers. They want to meet. She swallowed hard. Tomorrow. That's good, right? Jenny asked cautiously. Maybe they want to settle everything. Maria let out a dark laugh. Sure, because billionaires' lawyers are known for helping the little people who insult them. She began pacing, Luna following at her heels. They probably want to sue me too. Just add their lawsuit to Bergdorf's pile. Her phone rang. It was her father this time. Mija, he began, his voice steady but concerned. Your mother says you're coming home. Is it true? Maria sighed, sinking into a chair. Poppy, I was just about to book the ticket. Good, he said firmly. This city, it's no good for you. Too expensive. Too many angry people. The mall job, it's not Bergdorf's, but it's honest work. I know, Poppy. She glanced back at the email. But something just came up. I might need to stay a few more days. After hanging up, Jenny crossed her arms. You have to go to this meeting. Why? Maria asked, exasperated. So they can humiliate me in person? No. So you can face this. Maybe apologize. Try to make things right. Maria snatched her phone off the table. Make things right? How do I explain that I was tired, my feet hurt, and I was fed up with rich people? There's no making this right. Her laptop chimed with another notification, this one from her bank. Your account is currently overdrawn. Fees will be assessed. Maria sighed. I can't even afford the Uber to their office. I'll pay for it, Jenny said, her tone resolute. Consider it an investment in your comeback story. Maria laughed bitterly. There is no comeback. There's just going home and accepting that I ruined my life in 10 seconds of stupidity. Her laptop dinged again, a rent reminder. She opened her banking app. The numbers were brutal. After this payment, she'd have exactly $43.27 left. Jenny scrolled through the email. Look, they're offering to send a car for you. That's weirdly nice. Nice. Maria scoffed. It's probably just to make sure I show up and get served with more papers. But something about the email's tone tugged at her. It wasn't aggressive or threatening. If anything, it felt calm. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mom. "Mija, I found a flight for tomorrow night. Please come home." Maria stared at the text, then back at the email. Tomorrow could be the day she left New York forever, or the day she faced the full weight of her actions. Neither option felt right. "What would you do?" Maria asked. "Me? I'd go to the meeting," Jenny said. "What's the worst that could happen?" "They could sue me for everything I don't have," Maria muttered. "Make sure I never work again." She gestured at the boxes around her. "Oh wait, that's already happening." Luna jumped into her lap, purring softly. Maria scratched behind her ears, remembering how she'd bought the cat with her first Bergdorf's bonus. Another piece of her New York life she'd have to leave behind. "You know what?" Maria said suddenly, standing up. "Fine. I'll go to the meeting." "Really?" Jenny asked, surprised. "Why not?" Maria shrugged. "I've got nothing left to lose." She grabbed her phone and typed out a response to the email. The reply came almost immediately. A black car would pick her up at 10 a.m. "Want me to come with you?" Jenny offered. "Pretty sure this is a solo performance." Maria looked around. "Help me find something to wear. All my good clothes are packed." They spent the next hour rummaging through boxes, trying to assemble an outfit that said, "Please don't sue me, but I still have dignity." Not an easy task when most of her clothes were wrinkled. "Why now?" Maria wondered aloud, holding up a blouse. "It's been weeks." "Maybe they were waiting to see if you'd try to capitalize on it," Jenny suggested. "Like doing interviews or writing a book." "Because I've been so busy with all my exciting opportunities," Maria said sarcastically, pointing to the eviction notice on the counter. Her laptop dinged with another job rejection. "While your experience is impressive, we've decided to pursue other candidates." "I should start a scrapbook," Maria muttered. "All the places that won't hire me." "Stop it," Jenny said firmly. "Tomorrow could change everything. Or it could be the final nail in my coffin," Maria said, sinking onto the couch. "Maybe I should just get on that flight to Phoenix. Start over where nobody knows my name." Even as she said it, Maria knew she couldn't run anymore. Whatever Melania Trump's lawyers wanted, she had to face it. The black car arrived precisely at 10 a.m. Maria had been awake since dawn, alternating between panic and practicing what to say. Jenny had already sent her 15 texts. "Good luck. Don't freak out. Call if you need bail money." The driver opened the door without speaking, and Maria slid into the back seat. The contrast between the car's luxury and her current situation wasn't lost on her. This car probably cost more than everything she owned combined. "Where are we going?" she asked quietly. "Upper East Side, ma'am. Park Avenue." Of course. Where else would Melania Trump's lawyers be? The car glided through Manhattan traffic, passing Bergdorf's along the way. Maria turned her head, refusing to look at the store that had been her home for 8 years. Her phone buzzed again. Her mother. "Your room is ready. Just say the word." The car pulled up in front of a gleaming tower of glass and steel. Maria stepped out on unsteady legs, clutching her bag. The doorman gave her a knowing look. "Miss Lopez?" "Suite 402. The elevator ride felt endless. Maria adjusted her reflection in the mirrored walls. She'd chosen her old interview suit, the one she'd worn to get the Bergdorf's job. It felt like armor, even if it was slightly wrinkled. Miss Lopez, a polished receptionist, greeted her. "They're ready for you." Maria's stomach churned as she followed the receptionist down a hallway lined with expensive art. Each step on the marble floor echoed like a countdown. The conference room door opened. Inside were two lawyers in pristine suits, and in the center, Melania Trump herself. Maria froze. Nobody had told her the former First Lady would be there. "Please sit," one of the lawyers said, gesturing to a chair. Maria lowered herself carefully into the seat, feeling the weight of Melania's gaze. "Miss Lopez," the male lawyer began, "I'm David Mitchell, and this is my colleague, Sarah Chan. We represent Mrs. Trump in this matter." He spoke like it was just business, like Maria hadn't ruined her life in front of the entire world. "Before we begin," he continued, "Mrs. Trump would like to speak with you directly." Maria's heart pounded as she looked at Melania. She expected anger, contempt, anything but the compassion she saw in those eyes. "Miss Lopez," Melania said, her accent softer than Maria had imagined, "I have watched what happened to you these past weeks. But I know a thing or two about public criticism," Melania began, her voice steady. "About being judged. About how one moment can define your entire story." The lawyers exchanged brief glances as Melania continued. "You worked at Bergdorf for 8 years, yes? Always good reviews, good sales." Maria nodded slowly, unsure where this was going. "And now," Melania said, shaking her head, "because of 10 seconds, you can no longer work. You cannot live in your home. You cannot even walk down the street without cameras following you. This is not right." Maria swallowed hard. I don't understand," she stammered. "Aren't you here to sue me?" A slight smile crossed Melania's face. "No, Miss Lopez. I am here to offer you something else." She nodded to Mitchell, who pulled a document from his briefcase. "Mrs. Trump has a proposition," Mitchell explained, sliding the paper across the table. "A way forward, if you're interested." Maria stared at the document, hesitant to reach for it. "I don't understand," she said again, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's quite simple." Sarah Chan spoke for the first time. "Mrs. Trump is willing to help you rebuild your life, with certain conditions." "Why?" The question burst from Maria before she could stop it. "Why would you help me, after everything I did?" Melania leaned forward, her gaze steady. "Because sometimes the best revenge is not destruction, it's offering a better path, a chance to show a different way." She tapped the document lightly. "Read." With trembling hands, Maria picked up the paper. As her eyes scanned the text, they widened. This can't be real." "It's very real," Mitchell assured her. "Mrs. Trump is prepared to personally recommend you for a position at a luxury retailer in Chicago, a fresh start in a new city. Additionally, she will release a statement supporting your hiring, which will help counter the damage to your reputation." Maria's head snapped up. "What's the catch?" "There are 2 conditions," Chen explained. "First, you must complete a comprehensive sensitivity training program. Second, you will need to make a public apology, not just for the incident, but addressing the larger issues of respect and judgment." "The choice is yours," Melania added, her tone calm but firm. "You can continue as you are," she gestured toward the document, "or you can choose to move forward." Maria read the offer again, hardly daring to believe it. A job, a fresh start, a way out of the nightmare she'd been living. "Why Chicago?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Far enough from the New York spotlight," Mitchell explained, "but still in luxury retail, where your skills and experience matter." "And the sensitivity training?" "It's a 4-week program, fully paid for," Chen said. "It's a legitimate course, not a punishment, something you can add to your resume." Maria's phone buzzed in her bag. It was probably Jenny or her mother, wondering what was happening, but Maria couldn't bring herself to look away from the document in front of her, the lifeline she hadn't expected. "I don't deserve this," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Perhaps not," Melania replied, her expression unreadable. "But deserving is not the point. The point is choice. You can choose to stay angry, to let this moment define you, or you can choose to learn, to grow, to become more than one bad day." Tears slipped down Maria's cheeks. "I really am sorry. Not just because of what happened after, but because what I said was wrong. I judged you without knowing you, just like people are judging me now." Melania's face softened. "And that is why I want to help you, because now you understand. You've learned, the hard way, what judgment does." Mitchell pushed a pen across the table. "Take your time," he said gently. "Read every word. This is a big decision." Maria wiped her eyes and looked at the document again. The terms were clear. Complete the training, make the apology, accept the position in Chicago. In return, Melania wouldn't just recommend her for the position. She'd publicly support her second chance. "The company in Chicago," Maria asked cautiously, "they're okay with hiring me?" "They're eager," Chen confirmed with a nod. "Mrs. Trump's recommendation carries significant weight." Maria's thoughts swirled. Her half-packed apartment, her dwindling bank account, her parents anxiously waiting in Arizona. She thought of Jenny's unwavering support, her silent former co-workers, everything she'd lost, and this unexpected lifeline. "One more question," Maria said, her voice quieter now. She looked at Melania. "Why didn't you react that day, when I said those things?" A knowing smile crossed Melania's face. "Because I have learned that sometimes the strongest response is no response. Let actions speak louder than words. Yes." Maria picked up the pen, her hand steadier now. This was more than a fresh start. It was a lesson in grace, in rising above, in transforming an enemy into an ally. "Where do I sign?" she asked. The next hour flew by in a blur of paperwork and logistics. The sensitivity training would begin next week, and the apology would be professionally crafted but heartfelt. The Chicago job was ready and waiting for her. As Maria stood to leave, Melania extended her hand. "Remember this feeling, Miss Lopez. Sometimes our worst moments lead to our best chances." In the elevator ride down, Maria finally checked her phone. Dozens of messages. She opened her mother's first. "Mija, the flight is booked for tonight. Your father is excited." Maria smiled softly and began typing. "Change of plans, Mama. I'm not coming to Phoenix. I'm going to Chicago. And wait until you hear why." The black car was waiting to take her home to her half-packed apartment, which now felt less like the end and more like a transition. Her phone buzzed, a text from Jenny. "Well, what happened?" "Come over," Maria replied. "Bring wine. You're not going to believe this." As the car pulled away from Park Avenue, Maria glanced back at the towering building where her life had just taken a sharp turn. Melania's words echoed in her mind, about grace, judgment, and how actions speak louder than words. The driver caught her eye in the rearview mirror. "Good meeting." Maria smiled, clutching the signed documents. "Life-changing." Because sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't destruction. It's offering a better way forward. Sometimes the person you wronged becomes the person who saves you. And sometimes hitting rock bottom is the start of something new. Jenny was already at Maria's apartment when she arrived, clutching a bottle of wine and practically bouncing with anticipation. "Spill everything now," Jenny demanded as Maria opened the door. Maria grabbed 2 mismatched mugs, poured the wine generously, and sat down. "You might want to sit for this." As Maria recounted the meeting, Jenny's expressions shifted from shock to disbelief to joy. Luna curled up between them, sensing the lighter mood. "Wait, wait, wait," Jenny interrupted, holding up her hand. "She was actually there? Like, in person?" Maria nodded, leaning forward. "In the flesh. And Jenny? She was nothing like I expected. Nothing like what I said that day." "So, Chicago, huh?" Jenny said, her voice tinged with emotion. "I guess this is goodbye." "It's just a 2-hour flight," Maria reassured her. "And hey, it's better than Phoenix." Maria's phone rang. It was her brother again. "Sis, Mom's freaking out about your text." "Chicago? What's going on?" Maria put him on speaker and told the story again. By the time she finished, she could hear her mother crying softly in the background. "Meja," her mother said, her voice trembling. "This woman, after what you said?" "I know, Mama. I know." Maria touched the signed documents on her coffee table. "Sometimes people surprise you." Her laptop chimed with a new email from the sensitivity training program. "Welcome. Your course begins Monday at 9 a.m. Materials attached." "This feels surreal," Maria admitted after hanging up with her family. "It's better than reality TV," Jenny teased. "The Mean Retail Worker and the Former First Lady, coming this fall to Netflix." "Don't even joke about that," Maria groaned. "I've had enough media attention for a lifetime." Her phone buzzed again, a text from Steve, her former manager. "Heard about Chicago. Melania Trump's team called for a reference. Consider it glowing. Good luck. See." Jenny said, pointing at the text. "People want you to succeed." Maria's laptop chimed with another email. This time, it was from the Chicago store. "Dear Miss Lopez, we're excited to welcome you to our team. Attached, please find information about relocation assistance." "They're going to help me move," Maria said, her voice cracking. Jenny grinned, refilling their mugs. "Girl, you've got a fairy godmother and Luna buns." Maria looked around her apartment, the boxes labeled Phoenix that now needed to be relabeled, the belongings she'd planned to sell or leave behind. "I can keep Luna," she realized. "I can afford a real apartment." Her phone continued buzzing, messages from colleagues, some expressing support, others likely gossiping. But for the first time in weeks, Maria didn't care. "Want to help me draft the apology?" Maria asked. "Shouldn't you wait for the PR team?" Jenny asked. "No, I want to write it myself first. From the heart." Maria opened her laptop. "They can polish it later, but the words need to be mine." As they worked on the letter, Maria's phone lit up with a news alert. "Breaking. Melania Trump to make a statement about Bergdorf's incident." "Don't click it," Jenny warned. But Maria already had. The statement was simple but powerful. "In America, we believe in second chances and growth. I look forward to supporting Miss Lopez's journey forward." Maria stared at the screen, tears filling her eyes again. "I don't deserve this." "Maybe that's the point," Jenny said gently. "Sometimes you get what you need, not what you deserve." Outside, the sun set over New York City, her home for so many years, soon to be her past. But this time, the future didn't feel like a void. "To Chicago," Jenny said, raising her mug. "To second chances," Maria replied, clinking her mug against Jenny's. "And to learning that sometimes your worst enemy can become your most unexpected ally." Her phone buzzed one last time, an email from Melania's office. "A car will pick you up Monday at 8:30 a.m. for your first training session. Mrs. Trump says, "Remember, actions speak louder than words." Maria smiled, thinking back to that moment in Bergdorf's that had changed everything, how differently it could have ended, and how surprisingly it did. Because sometimes, the most powerful revenge isn't destruction. It's helping someone become the best version of themselves.